All right, hello everyone. This is Crota with, well, I guess an announcement, so to speak. Excuse me. Well, I will be casting Warcraft 3 for all of you guys wondering. But let's go ahead and just talk about what happened over the weekend. And as some of you guys may know, I do like Hex a lot. I've been playing Hex, but I haven't really been part of the competitive scene. And I got to actually play in my first IQ, my Invitational Qualifier, over the weekend. Out of 177 players, I was not expecting to go very far. It was going to be 8 rounds of play, and I'm like, you know what? It's 8 rounds. It starts at 11 p.m. for me, so I know exhaust and fatigue is going to hit me. I was not expecting to do well at all. I ended up getting into the quarterfinals. I lost in the quarterfinals as the kids were starting to wake up, and I wasn't focused enough on my play and made some play mistakes just because I didn't manage my time well. There was plenty of time on the clock. Things started to go awry. Well, my fault there. But I got to the quarterfinals and I thought to myself, you know what? I kind of wish I recorded all of those games, but obviously I didn't. But I will go over a little into the deck that I was running from the sealed tournament. It was a sealed tournament. I didn't have to analyze the meta and figure out a whole bunch of different decks that I needed to run and tweak them. I just built this deck and ended up going 7-1. And hopefully you guys can use this opportunity if you guys want to improve your sealed deck play, or you can just tell me that, hey, Crota got incredibly lucky with his picks and his deck, so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and break down to it. This was the deck that I had. It is all down over here. I had one Ashwood Blade Master. It is a 3-drop, 3-resource elf that gives that you can use additional resources to pump up all elves that you control. Problem was I didn't get that many elf drops, and I ended up having to go Ruby Diamond, but more on that a little bit later and how my deck worked. So yeah, very strong card there. Elves, you can go get +1 attack. It has Swift Strike, so when it attacks, it deals damage first, often killing the opposing troop before the opposing troop can do anything back. I'm actually going to be going down the cards just because I know a lot of you guys out there may not know Hex all that much. If you haven't tried Hex, I gotta say, try it. It is a lot of fun. And it's perhaps one of those games that if you're looking for a little bit more complexity, in a little bit more baiting, a little bit more less random number generator, and a lot more control, then I think Hex is really a good game for you. Next is a Boomsmith, 4 resource, 1 ruby threshold. When it comes into play, it deals 2 damage to target opposing troop. So you're able to kind of get like a 2-for-1 deal. And the meta seemed to have a lot of 2 vitality or 2 health units out there. So you could easily swap them or take them out while playing your Boomsmith. Bright Moon Brave. One resource 1/1, and it makes the next troop in your deck get +1/+1. That actually hit for me very big. More on that later. Cry of Adamanth. Attacking troops get +2/+2 this turn. So attack with a whole bunch of troops, and then you play this. They get +2/+2. Great, fine, lovely. A really good way of finishing off your opponent if they're not able to block with everything. Crypt Shrieker with a life drain gem, so this becomes a 3-resource double diamond 2/4 with life drain, which really changes the pace of the game. The way my deck kind of worked was trying to poke at your opponent, get a lot of card value, and make the game go long enough so that I could actually get that card value out. Life Drain helped me tremendously because I could stall the race to win it. And that's what happened there, where all of a sudden they would have a 3/2 attacker, and they're like, do I want to? I can't attack with the 3/2 attacker because they'll block with the 2/4, or I have a 3/3, but I don't want to attack into a 2/4 with life drain. He'll net life, so on and so forth. So that's the reason why the Crypt Seeker worked out. Where Deadeye Slicer, a 3-resource 2/2 Swift Strike with Shift. You can move the Swift Strike to a more appropriate target if you want it. It really did work out well there. I was able to move it to, say, a Boomsmith and stuff like that. Really worked out. Deadeye Ripper, same thing. 1 resource, 1 ruby. I'm going to be going over all the cards here so you guys actually understand the deck, and then I'll talk about the combos and how my deck work. With speed, can attack the turn that comes into play. Death Mask Assailant, one of those cards that really won me a lot of the games because my opponent couldn't block. All of a sudden, you have to have something with higher higher attack than the Deathmass Assailant to actually be able to block him. And you can shift that to more appropriate troops. What you'll notice is that I don't really have high damage or high attack troops in the deck. Maybe the Sandstone Rumbler, which is a little bit later, but I was able to work around their small blockers and get through damage, which was really, really important. Deep Gaze Disciple, one of my bombs, so to speak, a 4-resource 2/3 flyer that says every time a power is shifted onto a troop you control, it gets +1/+1. So if you gave Swift Strike to the Boomsmith while the Deep Gaze Disciple was out on the field, it would get +1/+1 and all of a sudden become a 3/4, much, much stronger. Emberleaf War Dancer, one of my late game scenarios, also an elf, works with the Ashwood Blade Dancer, but generally a very strong body, and also the Deathmass Assailant was able to get onto the Emberleaf War Dancer, making it so that like Rot Roots couldn't block the Emberleaf War Dancer, which I believe won me a game or two. Or maybe one. Ethereal Caller. This was one of my combo engines, which was amazingly good. Basically, it says, well, you guys can read it. 3-resource, double diamond threshold, which did stall me a little bit sometimes. When this enters play, transform target troop in your crypt into a phantom. So whatever is in your crypt, it just comes into play as a 1/1 flyer. But if you have a way to revert the troop, it will go back to how the card was at the very beginning of the game. So, say for instance, you have a Deadeye Slicer in your crypt. If you transferred Swift Strike to someone else, and then the Deadeye Slicer dies and comes back as the 1/1 Phantom, if you revert it, it becomes the 3-drop 2/2 Deadeye Slicer with Swift Strike, because that is the card that it physically or digitally was at the start of the game. Very, very useful. Ghost Feather. When this enters play, the next troop in your deck becomes a Spirit Eagle. Amazing, or not becomes a Spirit Eagle, gets the ability, you can transform another target you control into a Spirit Eagle. Now, if the troop that you have, okay, I need to explain this combo as well. So this enters play, you may transform another target troop into a Spirit Eagle. So if I have the Ghost Feather prophesies the Deadeye Slicer. The Deadeye Slicer shifts the Swift Strike over to another troop, right? When the Ethereal Caller pulls the Deadeye Slicer, it transforms it into a 1/1 Phantom. But it still has the game text of when this enters play, you may transform another target troop you control into a Spirit Eagle, because that was added. It didn't revert the card yet. So all of a sudden, another troop you have in play becomes the Spirit Eagle, which is the 3/2 flyer. So now you could convert the Ethereal Caller into a 3/2 flyer, and then revert the Deadeye Slicer, give it Swift Strike, and then shift it back over. So now all of a sudden your Spirit Eagle is a 3/2 flight Swift Strike troop that gets to exhaust a ground troop when it attacks. All these crazy combos were happening in the game, but the biggest, craziest combo was the Highlands Black Belt. This single card, worth maybe 80 cents, pretty much got me to the quarterfinals, and was basically the highlight of the entire evening for me to play. Highlands Black Belt. It has a basic one-shot ability that says, use it, you can create one of 3 cards. Breath of Dragon, target Highlands Black Belt you control deals damage equal to its attack to target opposing troop. Sting of the Manticore, this deals double damage this turn. Or Wings of the Phoenix. When this deals damage to an opposing champion, it deals 1 damage to each opposing troop this turn. It also gets Flight this turn. Now, you're going to have to follow me on this, because this was this play happened multiple times, where I would have a Highlands Black Belt, I would create Stings of the Manticore, and it's now sitting in my hand. Highlands Black Belt would die, right? It would die. I would get it back with Ethereal Caller, turn it into a Phantom. I would use the ability off of my hero, which is revert target troop, right? So I revert the Phantom back into a Highlands Black Belt. Because this is a basic one-shot ability, the ability went away, but it comes back after you revert it. So after the reversion, I then get Wings of the Phoenix. All right, following me so far. So I have a Highlands Black Belt on the field who's ready to attack. I have Wings of the Phoenix and Sting of the Manticore in my hand. I play them both as basic actions on my Highlands Black Belt, which states Highlands Black Belt deals double damage, and Highlands Black Belt is flight, and if it deals damage or combat damage or damage to an opposing champion, it deals 1 damage to each opposing troop. But all of that is doubled. So all of a sudden, I was able to swing with a Highlands Black Belt with flight. It deals double damage, so it deals 4 damage to my opponent. It deals damage to my opponent, so then it deals 2 damage to the entire board of my opponent, essentially wiping out their early game board. I was able to take down, I would say, over 12 to 15 troops throughout the tournament that way with essentially what was one card. It was one card that was in my crypt that came back and just snowballed into really, really great effect. You're like, well, that may not happen all that often. Well, the Highlands Black Belt doesn't have to die. You can revert it while it's in play with the hero champion or the champion power and still pull off the same combo. Or you could use the Neophyte Awakener, which says when this enters play, you may revert target troop with 3 or less in your crypt, which was the Highlands Black Belt who already used the hero power, or not hero power, her ability. Pull it from play, get another event that only triggers off the Highland Black Belt, and go from there. And it was absolute fun for days. I mean, that really was that really was how everything played out really, really well. Did a lot of really interesting things. And had a lot of fun with it. Mesa Lookout, I gotta believe one of the power cards in the deck as well. It's a quick troop that you can put down to block. It helps you gain 2 life, and target troop gets +2 health this turn. I was actually able to +2 health my opponent's troop 1 time to use Pride's Fall to take out a bigger threat. Forget what the threat was. It was something that didn't have 4 vitality, and I gave it 4 vitality so that it would die with Pride's Fall. A little bit of a 1-2 and was able to block and then swing back and win. All right, moving right along. Sandstone Rumbler. Oh, this guy had Major Ruby of Destruction. Pretty much comes into play, deals 5 damage to the face of my opponent. Very, very strong there. Skewer. Deal 3 damage to target troop. It only hits troops. If it has 1 or less vitality, deal 3 damage to that troop's controller. I don't see how it could ever have 1 or less. Is it defense? Yeah, defense. So, yeah, that's not going to be happening there. You're often able to skewer a spider to deal 3 damage to your opponent as well, and push over a little bit of that extra damage as well. Spirit-bound Spy. Was one of the highlights of the tournament as well, because a lot of people were misplaying Swift Strike against the Spirit-bound Spy. If your opponent is attacking, or say your opponent is attacking with a 2-1 Swift Strike, and you block with the Spirit-bound Spy, the Spirit-bound Spy dies off of the Swift Strike. But when it dies, it immediately transforms into a Phantom, and the Phantom is still blocking the Ashwood Blademaster. And because of that, because it's still blocking the Ashwood Blademaster, the Spirit-bound Spy then deals 1 damage back to the Ashwood Blademaster and takes him out. Yeah, the card just transforms. It dies, transforms, goes back to where it was, and the Spirit-bound Spy finishes off the Swift Strike guy. Happened a lot. Able to remove Swift Strike threats pretty early on in the tournament to help me get to 4-0. And finally, Star Shield, which was a recent development that I found incredibly useful in this tournament. Star Shield is almost like counter magic or some sort of interruption that is played by Diamond. a lot of people just simply were not expecting it whatsoever. I had a guy attempt to I think it was boomsmith away my Highlands black belt, right? Like he had a very large board. He tried to boomsmith the Highlands black belt. I star shield it, protect it, and then the next turn give it flight, and it goes back and wins, clears my opponent's board. So yeah, Star Shield, one of those cards where it's very tricky. It's a counter to an unexpected event, or you can use it straight up in defense, where if you think if you want to be able to trade damage, if you have a 2/2 and or you have a 3/2 and your opponent's attacking you with a 2/1 that you really need to get rid of, or like a Chimera Guard. Well, not want to say Chimera Guard because that would be an obvious trade, but some other troop on the field that they wouldn't think that you would significantly block, you can Star Shield, block, and take it back out. Or if they try to triple block, you can Star Shield because they normally give just the right amount of damage to kill off a unit, and you Star Shield, and you essentially can Star Shield and trade 2 for even 3 for 1 if you are lucky there. But yeah, that was the rundown on my deck. Also, thanks for everyone out there. One of the reasons why I played in the most recent IQ was because I am one of, I guess, in the second round of players or casters for them, and I'm actually going to be submitting another casting video with Dinotropia. I'm going to be the play-by-play. He'll be the color commentator. Dinotropia knows a lot more about the current meta of the game. He knows about constructed inside and out, and me casting for the past 6 years can talk and hopefully sound engaging and professional. But yeah, thanks for everyone out there who wish me well. Thank you for everyone who watched the video of my last casting attempt with Nico Sharp. And all I gotta say is, if I do make it to the Lake Forest, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump for me, but if I do get there, please definitely follow me on Facebook and check out the Hex Hex Invitational when it comes. The players are playing for $100,000, and this game is international. Over $100,000 is the prize pool, but I believe there's like maybe 1 or 2 Americans right now. The game has a lot of European presence. The game is very big out like in the world already, and it is coming up in ranks. And I really think that Hex is one of those diamonds in the rough type games. All right. Oh, I need to kind of prove that I also got my at least top 64. So latest sleeve right there, top 64 Invitational Qualifier sleeve. So yes, I kind of know what I'm talking about and kind of know what I'm doing in deck building. Anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it.